Thank you. Well, we have time delay, so I gonna try to make as best as possible. Maybe uh, some of you know me, some of you don't. So I'm trying to make this time a little different presentation that I'm used to do. We're gonna see a lot of symbolic and historic things between the flat Earth, because for me that is the most important part. Understand who present as the heliocentric model. So it's gonna be a little mix up, with technical stuff, symbolic things. It's gonna be really deep, the rabbit hole this time. So I hope you can understand me. First of all, thanks to Gary, to Didi for inviting me here. Thanks. This is gonna work. You promise me?
Yeah, try it, try it.
Okay, I'm gonna try like the fifth time. Um, let me just one more time. You lied to me.
Huh? Did I lie to you?
She's a Jesuit.
Hang on, wait. Let me get that card though.
Okay. So thanks all of you for having me here. It's really a pleasure be part of Flat Earth conventions. It's a lot of work to put something like this, in real life. It's take a lot of effort to do this kind of thing. So for me, coming from Argentina, it's also really, an adventure. In South America and in the Spanish language in general, there are a lot of thousands of people coming to the flat Earth reality. So they gonna see this also. I hope you. They say that my English is so bad that they can understand. So maybe it's like a mother language, something like that. You wanna try the sound? I do for you. No, it's not working. You gonna? Yeah, because it's in Spanish, the computer. Okay. Here. Reproduction. Where do you want to go? I try. I try. No, it's better than I used.
It's Spanish, yeah?
Yeah, it's Spanish. Okay, leave it like that. It's no problem. I think.
It's for sound driver.
Okay, maybe like this. No. Leave it like that.
They would not have believed.
This, no problem, no problem. Relax, man. You are more nervous than me. So, thanks for having me here. I resume, like 3 times my intro. This is my YouTube channel. I have 90% of the content in Spanish, but I have a few 10% in English. So if you want to check out, that is my YouTube channel. I don't want to forget to give the thanks also to the Globebuster guys, because they allowed me to be part of this event. They receiving me every Sunday in the Globebuster show. So thanks for the more guy, Sharam and Bob. And okay, let's start it. I have my name, Iru Landucci. I have 37 years old. I was born in La Plata. It's a city near to Buenos Aires, and like Washington City or like London City is founded by Freemasonry. So I need to lead with that every day that I walk around. And my shop for living is the visual effects technical director from a quite time since now. I do 2D and 3D motion graphics, so my introduction to the flat Earth was from Matt Parwellan, like I say before yesterday, but also when I started looking the visual effects that NASA uses in his live feeds and that kind of stuff. So that part of my professional background allowed me maybe to, get more deeper into the NASA hoax. And as a researcher, I am a researcher since 13, 14 years from now. I'm studying like the most of you, looking into the 9/11, the vaccination, the geoengineering things, that kind of things. But what really waking me up at the age of 21, 22 years old was an out-of-body experience. Before that, I just was a regular guy based on science. I get out for religions like 15 years old. And I believe that when you die, nothing more happen. And the universe showed me that that is not the case. So I start to research in metaphysics things and that kind of stuff based on that experience. Then from 4 years now, I become a flat earther researcher with, what that means in the... One more time again?
Just for 2 seconds. He's just going to do a setting check.
Oh, okay. One more time. So that is a little about my background. I'm also, I'm not an specialist, but I take a lot of time researching in language, the real meaning of the words, that like a little deeper than the etymology. And also and I recommend this for everyone here, which is the Germanic medicine. The Dr. Hammer research that are really amazing. And if you want to understand a little more why we, get sick, and based, of course, the normal medicine, they know that the 99% of the disease are psychological. And if you want to understand that, and at least, of course, you're not going to avoid death, but at least you can understand why you get some disease. From the head pain to a cancer, it's all emotional. And you think it's done? Leave it like that, man. Please. It's no problem. I put the mic and it's no problem.
Sure.
It's no problem. Leave it like that. Give applause, please. Thank you. You try it. You try it. Let me back again. This is the 6th time. The next time I call security, okay? So please. So I really recommend the neurological, the neurological part of the disease, and that is the Germanic medicine. Well, this is my YouTube channel. I have a lot of, like I said before, a lot of content in Spanish, but I am also participate with a few English people that allow me to be part of the English community. Santos Bonacci is one of the greatest men that I ever met. Mark McQueen, Antonio Subirat, if he's listen, hey man. Globebusters, etc., etc., etc. I think you know it, every one of those. So in Argentina, I am not a media guy, but this topic of flat earther bring me into the mass media situation, so I'm start having a little participation in TV programs, radio show, and that allow to grow the movement because it's getting out just simply YouTube channels. And that's also cost me a letter from the Astrophysics University from my city because I was in the public TV program saying that the dinosaur was a hoax, the ISS doesn't exist, the moon landing never happened, and these guys start to put a little nervous. So they present an official letter against me, calling me liar and, that kind of thing. They sign it, everything. Of course, I just make it and drop away. But I show this because these are the implications that we had to lead for talking about this. It's just, our voices are hearing out there. That is, there are some worry. It's just not a local thing. This is around the plane that we are really growing up. Of course, in my country and in South America, there exists the same kind of fake news, the in Spanish version, but we have the same type of media, so they pick up the information from here and just replicate in their journal. So it's the same thing. The world is real small. So what made me ask the question that can the Earth be flat? And I showed this little clip always because after enter in the flat Earth, I have like a 20 days continue viewing videos. The first time that I come across with this subject, and one of the most important thing to me was looking all these guys trying to explain that the world isn't flat. So, in 2017, 2016, seeing this, this kind of leaders talking about it, you don't hear him talking about reptilians or Anunnakis or cancer or whatever, and the only topic that these guys abort is flat Earth. So I don't know who write the speech to these guys, but they are really aware that this truth is coming out. So I'm gonna start playing some clips, and just for you can hear it. So
If I say that the world is round and someone else says it's flat, if some of these folks were around when Columbus set sail, they must have been founding members of the Flat Earth Society. They would not have believed that the world was round. We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
Let me just underscore. You don't need to be a scientist to know that the Earth is round.
And we need to make clear that those members of the Flat Earth Society,
the current members of the Flat Earth Society in Congress,
We got some people at high levels of aspiration who are the Flat Earth. We have Flat Earth Caucus.
the Earth isn't flat. In other breaking news, the world is round, not flat.
And you don't need to be a scientist.
and we need, as responsible leaders, to take account of science.
So we prepared a contingency communications procedure. And guess what? We don't need that anymore. There should be a legitimate debate between whether the Earth is round or flat. Because after all, any idiot can walk outside and look and see that it's flat.
This. Is NASA lying to us?
Well, I mean, this is just a short clip from 2010, 11 to our days, 2017. But if I want to pay for that kind of marketing, because these guys is all the time talking about us, I mean, that is impossible to afford. And it must be, when you see this kind of thing, you start thinking what's going on, because this kind of leader, they don't want to waste time, in conspiracy theories. If really don't be important. So the fact is that 1 in 4 Americans believe that the sun goes around the Earth. I mean, 100 million people in America believe that. I'm not saying the flat Earth, but if the sun goes around the Earth, that is a big issue for heliocentric model. And 1 in 3 Russians believe the same thing. And that is important because those countries are supposedly the most, better in space concern stuff, and that is a red flag to keep in mind. But of course, right now, in only 5 years, we have like 20 million videos uploading to YouTube. So that speaks for itself, you know, the statistics. The number doesn't lie, like NASA. So this is the real number. Dave Murphy there, you know. So it's really amazing because I never see something in my 14 years of as researcher, I never see something like that growing so quickly with some kind of these numbers. It's really, really something's going on, no? And recently, the problem, I believe the problem comes in this way because now the flat earth is considered like a political issue because we know what is going on if the earth is flat. So I'm gonna play this little clip from a news.
And the number of people who think so is growing. You may think it sounds crazy, but in 2017, thousands, if not millions of people still believe the world is flat.
Now, scientists say that's actually a symptom of a bigger problem, and it's the subject of tonight's special report. Flat Earth theory is actually getting pretty popular.
Yeah, believe it or not, in 2017, the number of people who believe the Earth is flat is actually growing. The biggest concern with the Flat Earth movement is how fast it's gaining steam. To leave you with a scary thought this Halloween night, scientists are worried that Flat Earth could become a political issue, like climate change, vaccination, or evolution. Guys.
All right, fascinating stuff. All right, Aaron, thank you.
So we are feeling a problem.
All right. So we're talking science stuff.
All of this with the global warming and that, a lot of it's a hoax. It's a hoax. I mean, it's a money-making industry, okay? It's a hoax.
And, you know, when you see that kind of guys talking, okay, Donald Trump is not a serious guy, but, you know, that's are just politicians. But this guy is a Nobel Prize, you know, and physicist. And he's Ivar Gavier, so you can find it on Google. He really do great lectures. So I just, you know, take a 50 seconds part of that. But this is a physicist talking about the global warming hoax, you know, and he talks about how he's pushed to say that the global warming is real, you know. So the other guy is a president, he's just a puppet, but this guy is a physicist. So for those who like physicists spoke, so I think, sorry for that. Let me see if I can, no. I can scrap the video, so let me do this. Sorry for this interruption, but I want to, you can hear it. I'm gonna play it in this mode.
Is it rap?
All of this with the global...
Okay, there we go.
A lot of it's a hoax. It's a hoax. I mean, it's a money-making industry, okay? It's a hoax.
Religion, because you can't discuss it. It's not proper. And they say you cannot discuss global warming because we believe it's happening.
So it's a new religion, like scientists, you know.
Flat. Don't ask a brat. Results from a new study reveal a third of young American millennials aren't sure that the Earth is round.
National poll found that 18 to 24-year-olds are the largest group in the country who believe the Earth could be flat. It seems the older you get, the more you believe the Earth is round.
Here's what 18 to 24-year-olds said when asked, do you believe the world is round or flat? 66% have always believed the Earth is round, yippee. 9% always thought the world was round, but more recently became skeptical. 5% always thought the world was flat, but more recently had doubts. Good for them. 4% always believe the world is flat.
That people should have a better understanding of why it is they believe what they believe. And I'll just say, because the answer really is because all the smart people say so. And that should never be your baseline of why you think something is or is not true. I do not think I get applause for that, by the way. That was nice.
So Buck just said the Earth is flat. That is freaking me out. All right.
Okay. And I'm gonna keep in this mode if you don't mind, because some videos I need to scrub forward and backward, and I don't want to, I just reduce this, and let me, okay. I'm gonna leave in this way. So you hear it for the, for the journalist guy. There are two important things in that audio, in that video, which is, the first one is why we believe in what we believe, and the other thing is, when get older, you are more heliocentric guy, but when you are younger, you are more flat earth guy. And that is really important, because that is where everything starts. Is in the educational system, is when you are young that they they wash our brain, because it's obviously more easy. So when you start to look in this situation about, be young guy and who puts information in your mind, is the UNESCO. That is because a lot of people start saying, okay, but this flat earth conspiracy, you need to get so many people involved, the scientists, the pilot, the engineering, the astrophysicists, the physicists. So you cannot do that. And it's no need to do that, because all the educational system, you can read it here, educational, scientific, and cultural are made by only one organization, and that is all you need. All the plans in the universities, in the schools, in the media, all are based on this institution. And of course, everybody knows the logo of the ONU, and we're going to start to make this little coincidence, because, for example, if you pronounce ONU backwards, is number one in Spanish, and our language comes from Greeks and Latin, and they don't lie. They just make things that we can understand, because we don't have the same education that these guys have. So all the times to clean karma, they don't lie. They say the things in your face. The problem is that you don't understand what they say. So this is the principal institution that carry on the education of all the occidental part of the world. That's easy, trick us. So when you start to look in who founded these institutions, the first guy is Julian Huxley. And here we are going to start see, okay, that's better. Here we are going to start to see that these guys are all, occultist backgrounds. They all share that situation, and that is really, really important. Julian was, the first. Of course, they put nice words at the beginning. They say that there was an evolutionary biologist, greater humanist. All words to cover that that is an eugenist, that is, a British international eugenist. He was the first director of the UNESCO, and he supports the word of Charles Darwin. So with that sentence, you have everything you need to know about Julian Huxley. But one of the brother called Aldous Huxley, he was in mysticism, and you start seeing all these families share that kind of thing, all the time. So the thing is, this guy, he wrote A Happy World, he wrote Alice in Wonderland, so you can start see the connection here. He wrote The Iceland, which is, how treat humans as animals, something like that, to take the organs. And of course, they wrote The Door of Perceptions. So the guys who founded UNESCO, they are really occultist guys. They are not, I don't say good people, but they have knowledge that they don't share with us. So that is one of the problems to understand the flat Earth. So this, it's important, because when you think in terms of spiritual level, anytime you reincarnate, you come with, a biological software that allow to understand the world that surround you, because you need to survive. And that is why when you are young, you believe what you observe and what the reality of the nature tell you. But as you grow up, you're gonna start to receive some upgrades for these guys. So that is so easy to trick us. And this goes really, really deeply. I learned this from the channel of Robert Bassano. He is not anymore on YouTube, but he lived a nice research in his channel. And this comes from the University of Illinois, and is from 2007. And this is a technical report across cultural investigation of children's conceptions about the Earth, the Sun, and the Moon, based on Greeks and American data. So you can see here the important. They keep, trying to get better, brainwashing the young boys, because that is the key to making believe in heliocentric model. So here you have, just the abstract of that, and look, here is what the result says. It's based on 90 children from Greek and 60 children from United States. And the result of the study show us that the children in both samples construct similar initial concept about the Earth. Both the Greeks and the American children conceptualized that the Earth as flat and stationary, and though it was located in the middle of the solar system. I know, I believe they know what I'm talking. They also thought that the things fall down now toward the center of the spherical Earth, and that the day and night cycle is caused by the movement of the sun and the moon. In the process of changing this concept, the Greeks and the American children form similar misconceptions. So they assume that there are misconceptions right away, which is a pretty, strange, because that is what all of us see. There is, I think, 80 astronauts supposedly see the world from outside, but the rest, we see all the time the same things. But this show how important is to, infiltrate the educational system. In fact, in Argentina, for example, if you're going to study for being a psychologist, in the introduction course, you're going to find these 3 topics, and I translate it for you. The first one is going to talk about the importance of the heliocentric model, because this theory locates the sun as the center of the universe, displacing the paradigm of Ptolemy that placed the Earth in the privileged place. So we quit to a privileged place based on what? Because the observations show that the sun is moving and we are the center. Developed by Copernicus in 14th century and retaken by Galileo in the 17th century, creating the modern astronomy. The second thing that you're gonna be aware if you want to be a psychologist, of course, is the evolution of the species. I don't need to say what it's about because everybody knows we come from monkeys. And the third thing you're going to try to brainwash is with the discovery of the unconsciousness. So basically, Freud, after a period of time when he comes to live in England with all kind of privilege, they, leave the instructions to how to make the feminist revolution in the beginning of the 1950s. After all that, he also tells us that even our thoughts are not our thoughts, because the subconscious is going to trick you all the time. You are not even in your spirit. I mean, that is the kind of, talking in few words, what you're going to study if you want to be a psychologist. But maybe someday we need to go to, a psychologist because we are flat earthers, and maybe that is going to be a disease. So how you're going to fight with a psychologist? But this is how deep it goes. All these professionals receive the same educational system, so that is why they are not part of the conspiracy. They are part of the brainwashing that every one of us suffer. And if you notice, one of these career you cannot study in any place in the world. And that is astronaut. You cannot be studied to be an astronaut. You must be selected by a finger, like be a 33-degree Mason. You must be selected. And that is a little strange because why is, it's like being Pope. You cannot study to be Pope. In fact, if you are a woman, you're never going to be a Pope. So you can start see how the heliocentric model is a masculine, model that trying all the time to get out the feminine part, because the feminine part is the creativity, is the emotional part, and they trying to get rid of that part. That is why we live in the paradigm of the right is who have the reason. If you are left side, you don't worth nothing. And this has to be, how the universities come from. How they. This is my concept. It's not just scientific proof that this is where the first university come from, but here we're going to start entering in the scientific round. University, of course, means one verse, one history, one model. That is, universe is just one, and who creates the one, that is the important thing. So you must be remembered that nobody has access to free, quote, educational system until 50 years back. For the beginning of the 20th century, the most of the world was uneducated. So that is how far the things goes. And the first one, if you want to really have access to some kind of education, you must be a religious person. That was the first one that knows how write, how read, have access to really instruments to, put words on paper. The paper was supposedly invented in China 100 years before Christ. So you must be in the noble families to get access to the. If you are a poor guy or normal guy, you don't even know how to write. So that is a red flag for every religious book that we consume today, because I am not against any religions. Anyone can do whatever they want, but think about it. The Gospels, who supposedly was writing by the guys who walks with Jesus, they don't have access to write nothing. They don't come home and say, okay, I'm going to write what the master teach me now. Give me a pen. They don't have that kind of instrument. So that kind of text was writing by the same guide that today print our educational and religious book. I don't say that religions are fake, because I believe that they are real, but we need to, trying to separate and really study really deeply, because that is, the real thing. They don't have things to write. Only the, religious people has the instruments to write down at that time. So this is where the first university start. University, but under the concept of to have instruments to write down ideas, concepts, and that kind of things. And once they, this comes from Babylon and until to our days, but sometimes in the history around the 16th century. The religious order has everything tied up. They start to expand, and the first guy who received education was alchemist, occultist. That was the first guy that take access to no unbiased. To just a few things. The religious people, the really high priest say, okay, we need to brainwash the world. So we need people to teach what we want to this guy learn. So they start, selecting people and say, okay, I'm gonna teach you some things just for you can do my purpose. So the first guy was, the alchemist, the occultist guys who start really have information, and that is all about the Kabbalah, all about the, the mysticisms, arts, the Hermetics art, that kind of things. Of course, after that, in the 17th, 18th, 19th century, if you want to have access to education, you literally need give your life to a Vatican. I mean, you cannot go to university because at that time that doesn't exist. You need to go to a monastery or to a convent. I mean, you need to go to religious institutions, and you need to sacrifice your life just for, get knowledge. And the knowledge you're gonna get is like the same UNESCO, but at that time. And it's really strange, not strange, but this is the things that, for example, the word library in Spanish, it's called biblioteca. And the word biblioteca, it's come from Bible. I mean, we know that the Bible is, a collect of writings. It's not just one book who someone write. So that give you, a little hint where the books really are. They are in the library, in the biblioteca, because the religious people is who they have that kind of information. And after all that, a few families in Italy start founding the Jesuit and the Pope order. That is where the Catholic, church begins, so speaking. It was the Medici, the Ornesi, the Farnesi, those guys we still living and still use the same surname, and they still have their own companies, They founded the Jesuit order and the Pope. They are who they founded. They are not, the Pope is not a religious guy that God selected, nothing like that. Was founded at the same that the science is founded today. And here start to appear the first scientists. For example, I'm going to show, a little bit of examples of why we believe that the world is spherical. For example, this guy, one of the first Jesuits called Anastasis Kirchberg, he was considered by his fellow as the Leonardo da Vinci of his time. He was honored with the Master of 100 Arts. And this guy, for example, was the first one. Of course, he was the mystery of the human knowledge. He was an occultist. He was a magician. He was an astronomy. But all the time, what you're going to see is the relationship with mysticism. It doesn't matter if you are a scientist, if you are a religious person, you are a Jesuit, if you are, Egyptian. All the time, the guys who give us the actual science, they are not scientists. They are magicians. So we must be, keep in mind of that. He studied the Hermetics, magic, and alchemy. So it's even, he studied the symbology, the secrecy, the magic, the Kabbalah. So even the Kabbalah is, maybe they share knowledge with the Hebrew people, but the Jesuit is also involved in that kind of knowledge. And this guy was the first guy who proposed that the earth has a core inside. So it's not come from any scientist, any modern scientist. This Jesuit create the idea, you can see the angels, blowing the winds. And that is the core of the earth. So he, maybe one day wake up and say, inside of a spherical planet there is a core. And here you can see another depictions from the Coriolis effects. This is like the first, Coriolis effects concept. And the sun, the moon, Polaris, maybe you can see here that this is the shadow produced maybe by Polaris. Maybe the eclipse are not, the lunar eclipse are not produced, of course, by the shadow of the earth. Maybe there is some other object that produce that shadow. And okay, that was the nucleus or core idea. And it's really nice because the word nucleus, core for English people in Spanish is núcleo. I don't know if here is the same word. But they all the time, they refer, for example, Leonardo da Vinci. Da Vinci means give life. And Leonardo, it's Leo, lion, is the lion. And we know who families use the lion in his shields, family shields. And when you start to analyze the word, for example, the word nucleus nu means light. That is where the root of the word north come from. My channel is called Nur for everyone because Nur or Nor means light of the center. North means light of the center. That is what this means. It's not, some geographical point. It's referred to a light in the center. And the word nucleus means light for Cleo. You remember Cleopatra? Is the patria of the lion. That is the symbolic of the lion in Egypt. So it's like they put like his symbol inside the earth all the time. In fact, to access this in a mathematical word, you want to call radio. And radio, if you separate the word, you have Ra-dio, Ra, God, inside of the earth. So, you can believe what you want. You can maybe believe that it's all coincidence, but when you start look really deeply, you can see how this matrix is start forming. So don't forget that supposedly the most important library in the world is from Vatican, so you cannot have access to that kind of education. So that is how deep the things goes. And of course, after, first the higher priests make the history of universities, then they pass to alchemists, which is some kind of scientist, and then they founded and create the Freemasonry to take care of the universities, because in any university you're going to find Freemasonry. In every book text, in every scientific facts, always it's going to be a Freemasonry teach you what you need to believe or what you need to research. And the first guy who founded the Freemason, one of the father of the Freemasonry, is a guy born here in British. His name is Elias, at least the artistic name, because Ashmole means dragon. Elias Ashmole is considered one of the father of the Freemasonry. He contributed to this extensive knowledge related to Egyptian and Hermetic symbols. And that is why all the time in Freemasonry, you're going to see Egyptian symbols, because they took the knowledge, from Babylons, then from Egypt, then from Greeks, and all the time you're going to see this situation. That is why I talk about the lion inside of the supposedly spherical earth. So they put, their symbols, but we don't have the knowledge to understand that. He deal with astrologers, alchemists, mathematicians. He founded the Royal Society of London and the Philosophical Society of Oxford. So he wants to make, everything he wants, because he lived with all these kind of professions. He founded the Royal Society of London. So this is like a first approach of the UNESCO at that time. But this guy was a geocentric guy in that time. So that the idea that no, the Greeks know that the sun was fixed and the earth revolved around the sun, that is all lie. You can see some concept art from that idea. You can see the first idea of the spherical earth projecting shadow. I don't know where, because in supposedly space there is no any particles to project nothing. You can see here the moon. You can here see all the books that this guy wrote. Of course, all based on mysticism and magical forces and that kind of things. But one of the guys who come later, working with Elias Ashmole, was this guy, Robert Plot. Nice surname for what he's doing. And I mean, it's another coincidence, the surname of this guy, because this guy was the first who proposed the crop cycles. This guy was the first who proposed the dinosaurs. I mean, remember what plot means. This guy was the first keeper of the Ashmolean Museum, the museum of the other guy. In 1686, British naturalist Robert Plot reported on rings of arc of mushroom as like oh, look that, maybe a demon, an alien do it. No, that is something to be aware, because we believe that the crop cycle is something that born in 20th century, like this is a modern thing, but not. It's from the few centuries ago, and all is related with Freemasonry. Remember, I used to study the crop cycle because I was a big fan of NASA and alien stuff and that kind of thing. And the most important message in the crop cycle world is this message here, that supposedly comes from this information on the Voyager disk. So if you are flat earther, it's very easy to understand that we make the crop cycles. There is no alien force making it. Maybe there are military guys or some kind of technology that we don't know, but where is the Voyager? I mean, who read the message of the Voyager? There is no space, there is no Voyager, there is nothing about that. So this message is not come from any species out there reading this disk on the Voyager spaceship. So lie. It's easy as that. And then supposedly, this is the other one, that if you want to believe that an alien comes and make his portrait here and that kind of thing, I can do nothing for you. That's the real thing. And this is like a ISS concept. I'm going to show you later how the ISS get better from the 70s to our days. And supposedly the aliens get better drawing the crop cycles, because they start like this, and then as the technology grows, even the aliens grows, how to draw, and they come with that kind of things. It's a really strange for advanced civilization. But you can see a lot of documentary showing how easy it is in one night, 3 guys doing really complex crop cycles without breaking the plants and everything like that. And remember, you guys have the most amount of crop cycles here in England, and the guy who proposed that is from England, so of course you're gonna have it. So the dinosaur thing, for me, that is my concept, because it's come from this guy too. I mean, it's not coming from any evolutionary guy on 20th century. It's like, you take the concept of the turtle, you mix it up with the dragon of Komodo, with the rhino, and with the giraffe, and you painting green, put some spike, and here is the dinosaur. Because it's like a reverse engineering, You take the giraffe and they make the Brachiosaurus. They take the rhino and they make the Triceratops. I mean, it's just that, They inspire on nature, because this guy was a naturalist, and he painted green and put some spike, and there you have the dinosaur idea. So as you keep going, all the time you're going to see the Jesuit intervention in every place of education. In fact, one of the first universities has the name of, this is in the United States, has the name of the founder of the Jesuit, which was the Loyola, Ignacio de Loyola. And this is the guy, here. And there are the symbols of the educational system from Vatican. And maybe you believe, like, for example, in Argentina, you have supposedly freely education without any religious behind that, but that is a lie. In fact, we're going to see later why. But I mean, there is no real education without all these guys looking for behind, the scenes. And of course, they support the global Earth, because they created that concept. And in every symbol you're going to see out there is going to be writing in letters that you don't have the knowledge to understand what it says. That is the idea behind to give, the priest talking in Latin, in his ceremonies. For example, this is the shield of Yale University. lux et veritas, light is the truth. And we know when this guy talks about light, we know why they talk about light. And in fact, when you get, when you finish your educational system, in a lot of countries, you dress like this because they convert you in the Jesuit. Symbolically, it's just that. That is why you dress in this way. And the people, they believe, I don't know what they believe, because in Argentina it's not that kind of ceremony, but I don't think so that those guys know what they are wearing. For example, another terminology in Latin to us don't understand what they're talking about. One of the part of the ONU, responsible for our security, called SHAPE, means the Supreme Headquarters Allied Power Europe. They have, of course, the pyramid symbol and all that kind of stuff, but in Latin they say the price of freedom is surveillance. That is a really high cost, in our times with all drones, technology out there, all cameras. That is why maybe they do it. And just a little example for you understand what I'm talking when I trying to say what the importance of the meaning of the words are. Supposedly the old record that we have about language is come from the Sumerian and pre-Sumerian people. After that, you must be believed that we live in caves, ripping off a woman of the hair and that kind of things. And after that, Babylon city appears. Nobody know how, but we know that we are not like a spontaneous creation. So these guys were the first language, then come these other languages until our days that we only use the Anglo-Saxon and the Spanish language. And one of the race that rule the world, they never change the language, which are the Hebrew. They keep speaking the original language, and that that has a meaning. But we are look how many photocopies, if you want to see in that way, we have until our language. And for example, all the time we know we live in the slave system, and all the time, for example, the system tell you, hey, you must be, the first thing is a family, is a family, is a family. But family means come from famulus and means servant or slave. So when you talk about my family, you're talking about your slave group. They don't talk about family, they talk about bloodlines. Because what you share is lineage, is blood, you don't share slavery. That is the real thing. So I don't spoke anymore like saying, okay, my family, I going to with my family on vacation. I talk, because what you say is what you create. So you need to start changing some words if you want to be more free, if you want to see in that way. But like I tell you before, be a famous, be part of our family, be our slave. Because that is what they are telling you, in symbolic language. Be a famous is just be a slave with the original word. That is why they propose all the time, hey, you want to be a famous, you want to be a famous. Yeah, I want to be. And if you become a famous, you lose your life and you're just working for them. We know that this guy, they don't even have money. I mean, all the money of these guys have is in a digital account. So if you don't do what they want you do, they just press a button and erase your account. That easy. So to understand all these kind of things, you must understand one of the most important concept out there based on different education, which of course come from Greeks, so you must be see in with suspicious way, because the guys who printed today, of course, I believe that they suppress some information, but that is the trivium and the quadrivium. These are considered the liberal arts of education. So all the time they use a liberal, system, and for us they give a slavery system. In fact, that here says literally these disciplines was cultivated by free men as opposed to the servile arts, typically of the servant or slave. So our education system is based on be slave, not be free man. And that is why they are so afraid to art, because if you become an artist, whatever discipline you want to do, you're going to get free. You're going to be independent because you don't need to wake up all the days to go to work for other people. That is why they don't want to the feminine part, in our life. And this is a quote from one of the biggest motherfuckers out there, which is J.P. Morgan. We know that this guy prepared, the Titanic for do their own things and bring down Tesla. And he said, millionaires don't do astrology, billionaires do. And that is important, the importance of understanding how the planet works, because the planets are light, are energy, so you can use that energy for good, for bad, but you need to understand why they are there. And of course, in the heliocentric model, that doesn't have any sense, because millions of years away, what is going to affect us? Nothing. The moon rock affect the feminine menstrual cycle. What is a piece of rock? I mean, that doesn't have any sense. But if you start looking in the way that everything out there is here, near, that is why this energy affects us. And of course, all the stars out there, you must be see in different way. They are just for guide us. We live in the polar world, so these things can guide us physically, because you can use it to navigation, to take a position on the real material world, but also they can guide you in spiritual world. And that is the part that they suppress of our education, because in this part of the education, they study the astrological world, because billionaires use it to rule the world. So you can start see how important the flat earth started to become, a real mind-blowing thing. And of course, all this situation that we are talking about is based, if you want to start see, the concept of the matrix, that the concept of seeing the code behind the things, you must be start to studying this kind of education, and also gematria. Of course, know the Aleister Crowley gematria, but that is important, because all Freemasonry, all the elites, they study, of course, with his own teacher. In this case, is the Aleister Crowley satanic guy. But if you want to understand why these elites use so many symbols, and why they speak in the mode that he talks and that kind of things, you need to study at least a few things of this knowledge, because if not, you're never gonna see the matrix. You never. You're gonna be blind. Everything is energy. If you want to find the secret, you need to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, and everything out there is that. Symbols are little piece of code that translate, in frequency and vibration in our brains. When we speak, when we talk, we produce literally vibrations through the air. So gematria, trivium, quadrivium, the educational system, all that kind of things are really that kind of concept here. If you just think this is only apply to electrical things or magnetic things, you're gonna lose a big part of the picture, because you can see in that way, of course, but you can, some guy said that this quote is not from Tesla, but I believe that is really good for him. So I believe could be from Tesla, but it's not. It's a nice quote. But the Earth is a realm, not a planet. It's not an object. It has no edge. At least nobody see the edge, never. is a machine, is a Tesla coil. And you can see it really quickly in the Aurora Borealis things and the magnetic fields. I mean, we are made and based on electricity, magnetism, and all that kind of stuff. So when you started, I call schematrix because it's like, to understand the concepts of scene behind the scenes. But when you start to look in all these kind of situations, you're gonna start to see the things a little different. For example, when you see rockets, you're gonna see obelisk, because that is what they are. This is a symbolic penetration to the Mother Earth. That is what this is represent the masculine part, in the, in fact, look how deep they go, that one of the biggest rockets shooting to the sky, they put the word Thor, literally, because all the NASA guys was founded also by, occultist guy. So all the time they use it in that way. For example, we have our best friend, Elon Musk, and this is a recent news. Elon Musk created the Ad Astra School. Unhappy with the educational their children receive, Elon Musk created Ad Astra School, which is surrounded by a halo of mystery and secrecy, and the teaching inside the school is based on hermetics education. So, I mean, what's going on? Supposedly this guy who is really, very technological guy, he's unsatisfied with the educational system, and he creates an hermetic school system to teach her children. And if you want to enter to the web page, it's not allowed. It's just only for the parent that pay for that education. It's surrounded by a halo of mysticism and secrecy. So as you can see, these things is in our days also. In fact, the word Elon means light and Musk means sun. So son of light is another coincident thing, because this guy appeared from nothing, like other supposedly modern scientists. I'm gonna show 10 slides more, and if you want to make a break and then I continue, you just I do whatever you want. So one of the first rocket scientists who contributed in the founding of NASA, which is Chuck Parson, he was, of course, an occultist. He was part of the Aleister Crowley crowd. He joined to the esoteric organizations led by Crowley, like the Ordo Templis Orientis. Parsons claimed that his religion and magical belief did not contradict his scientific words, and he made prayers to the pagan god Pan. We're gonna see why he made that. And this guy was so, full-time a magician that he dies performing a magical experiment. Supposedly, this guy must be died, making some rocket work and some rocket explode, and he died. No, he died performing a magical experiment. Unbelievable. Of course, all that has to do with SpaceX is all related with sex. That is why they worship the god Pan. And even Jack Parsons made their own comic book. And all the time you're going to see the color orange, because orange is the 33 in Gematria. You're going to see the sex, all the time proposing. So if you want to be like a science of, rocket guy, you need also to be part of the sexual perversion, because sexual is a really powerful energy, and you can use it for love and for do nice things, but you can also buy people with sex. If you are addicted to sex, it's more easy to corrupt you. So this is Pan. That is why Disney used it in his throne. But who is Pan? Who is really Pan? Pan is a demonic pagan god of sexual perversion, pedophilia, penis erect. The attribute or symbol associated with Pan are goods, pastures, umbrella, phallus, and the flute. So that is why he played a flout, I don't know how to pronounce it. And of course, one of the famous picture of the rover, who says, this is an official picture of NASA, they use rover rib pan. Supposedly that is for panoramic, but you can believe what you want. So this is part of the symbolic of the pan. In fact, in the Spanish word, we talk in the religious people say you take the breath of every day. It's called pan. This is the pan of every day. And when you go to a church, they put the pan in your mouth, to do that, supposedly to take out your sins. In fact, we told us that before everything forms, it was a big continent called Pangea, the earth of Pan. I mean, the earth of the demon, literally. That is why they use this name all the time involved in our system. And that is why you can start see all these guys doing, the horns, doing this kind of symbol. They camouflage in TV series or, in music things. Like, no, this is from heavy metal. This is not demonic symbols. Come on. I mean, supposedly you can see here involved in NASA things, this old concept. So this is all the astronauts like heavy metal. This astronaut like, really heavy metal. This guy, they like what? He has the eyes of Horus directly. This guy who are the diver to help the astronaut, they also like what? Heavy metal. I mean, all the time, and this is just, a tiny part. You can really research a lot of these things in the rocket scientists, and you're gonna find a lot. So this is, the concept that I want to show you when I'm talking about the schematrix, because all these things, all these gestures, all these kind of artistic pictures, you're just going to understand if you research in this type of education. You need to know the both parts, because if not, if you say no, but that are demonic things, that depends why why you use it, in what mode you use it. You need to know, the bad things. You not need to practice. You just need to know to recognize these kind of things. Because if you don't take the time to understand this, you're never gonna see these connections. That doesn't mean you need to practice. It just, incorporate the knowledge that is, I think I'm going to quickly, because we know about this connection based on Disney, Nazis, scientists, NASA, Freemasonry, even the actual, you can see how they, like the Phoenix concept, all the time they reborn the same concept. This is like 80, 60 years before, that now they present as this, but it's the same name, it's the same concept, it's just the same bullshit, all the time, that they don't even make new things. In fact, for example, one of the mindset to brainwash and, the people accept the moon landings was this park, like Disney Park. Before Disney Park, they create directly, not Disney Park, directly the Inner Space Adventure. I mean, 2 years before that the moon landing happened, they create this, and who is presented? Monsanto. So another coincidence, I believe. So sorry for the Spanish language, but I believe everybody knows the quote for Mark Twain. And you can see all the connections, and this is the important, the famous black box out there is a television, but not because it's a nice technological device. It's because literally it's a nervous system manipulation, but electromagnetic fields from monitors. And if you can go a little back, remember that history about the radio show that Orwell made, that the word of the exactly, and the people start killing themselves and screaming out, and that just was a radio transmission. I mean, they don't even use any kind of holographic technology and that kind of things, but because all is vibration energy. That is another kind of vibration and energy. So if you don't have that software to understand, for example, that language, doesn't matter if you heard that transmission, because you don't have that language in your brain. And the same thing happens with all the rest of the education. We can see Disney in every part of the space. Is, you know, it's out there all the time. And I finished this part with these things. You are guys are good. You want to I keep with this, or you want to make a break? And keep going. Okay. Okay. So this goes so deeply that, for example, the Argos, and maybe you think what is, you know, related Argos with NASA. Argos mean son of Zeus, and we know that Zeus represents the thunder, the light, the creator. You can see that referred in the old media, you know, Nickelodeon, Hitler, Pearl Jam, even the astronaut Chris Hadfield has the, you know, the thunder in the face. But this represents that represents I am the son of the light. It's like Elon Musk, but with another name. But it's also interesting that NASA has a system called Argos. I mean, what's going on, man? All the time, this company uses the same names. But the funny thing is, the Argos system is what they use to make the astronaut float. That is the name of the wire system. That is Argos. This is Argos. You know? That is a coincidence? You tell me? But that is how perform. In fact, David Copperfield is also Freemasonry. He admitted. So the system that they use today in the ISS station is come from this guy. This cable only have 1 millimeter and support more than 100 kilos. If you paint this cable in green screen, in green paint, you just write digital in real time today. So look how deep these connections goes, you know. All this is Argos. This is Zeus in space. This is the system. Here you can see how David Copperfield performed the same acts in real time with a lot of public seeing him, and he can, you know, NASA even have the patent. Look, this guy. What happened? You know, he stuck before doing the somersault. Here we have the national team pick who failed the gravity. This guy make somersault, but he comes forward. But he make force backward and he comes forward. I mean, supposedly that doesn't happen in space. We have the Superman style there.
How would you prove to us that you're in zero gravity?
All the time they need to prove to stay in zero gravity. You need, you know, repeat. This has, you know, this is hilarious because why she, you know, she make that position, you know, like okay, now, yeah, now. You can go forward, you can go backwards. This is one of the best pieces out there to show the wires. Not the best one, but it's one of the best because you have the pinky finger there, you know. But look, and this is amazing because this girl is in, like, you know, accelerated the video. Here you can see how the cloth start to be pulled. But this girl, he make this kind of situation of to prove the zero gravity, but she gets so, you know, with all the cables around her body that this guy here needs to take out of his pocket a baseball. I mean, what is doing a baseball in the pocket of the astronaut in space? We don't understand that. I mean, he took quickly that because he detected that this girl is totally, you know, wrapped around the cables. So they want to distract you. So you can see the girl, all the movement that she must be do to, you know, and then she was pulling back, And at the same time, now look the baseball player trying to distract you at the same time that the girl trying to look at this. Quickly, quickly, quickly. So that, just that video clip is enough to don't believe anymore in ISS. But we know how the globe heads are, so let's continue. They have even patented the method of the reduced gravity conditions. The first plane was the Gatsby plane. I believe you can put inside here whatever you want. You can make whatever set you like inside that plane. I don't say that this is the plane where the ISS is, happening, but we don't know the technology that NASA have. So, no, because the free fall effect is just 1 minute. Yeah, 1 minute if you go 30,000 feet. But if you go more up, you have more minutes. If you combine that with wireless, if you combine that, if you combine that with CGI, compositing system, you have an eternal life fake in the space. It's just not 1 minute. We can see here that all data present in the ISS you can replicate in free fall plane. No zero gravity plane, because that is another brainwash. But you can see the same behaviors. They never show us something unique to be in space. All the things that this guy show us could be replicated really easy in Earth with, regular technology. I mean, the plane is at 100 years old technology. It's not even amazing technology. We can do the same thing in TV series, in movies. Here you can compare the size of the cloud. These clouds are totally static, and of course they have this lens, this spherical lens effect, because when you see this, you must be see in real life, this is like this paper passing by like that. It's not spherical. It's a straight texture of cloud passing like this, but here they deform or they map in a spherical 3D sphere, and that is the sensation you have. But the size of the cloud are the same that you have on a plane. In fact, the image that's come now, this image is from a Swedish balloon, scientist balloon, that show the Earth 40 kilometers up in the sky. You can see the horizon totally straight, but look how live the clouds are and compare with this. So this is a texture, nothing more. This is real life, and the horizon is straight, 40 kilometers, something that is impossible. There is no standard reflection at that altitude, so there is no anything causing the straight of the horizon. That is the way it is in real life. And like I tell you before, because I need to finish, this is our technology today. You have a green screen, just a green screen, and you can see all this set is virtual. You can see refraction, you can see chroma key, fine chroma key techniques, all in real time. You can see even transparency. You can see motion tracker in real time. You can see refraction and anisotrophic refraction. In a moment you're going to see contact shadows. I mean, all this is digital, and you can buy it for $60,000. How much money? They use the same effects, I mean, and if you look at this, this is out of fade to get out of the virtual set, and this happened the same. I mean, I don't see, they have real structure, of course, but they use, in fact, if you go to this website, NASA is a client. Of course, they're gonna tell you, no, but we are client because we produce, TV content, and we use that kind of technology, but maybe they use also in the ISS and that kind of things. You can have, like a bubble in the ISS, the reflections, inverse reflections. I mean, this technology is out there from the 2000. Of course, it's getting better and better, but this is just broadcasting technology. This is not, unique technology that you can achieve if you are NASA. So keep in mind that we have today in a simple tablet a real-time erase object. So imagine that with a cable in the ISS. That will be really easy. And remember that the majority of the live feeds, they are not live feeds. They are pre-programming feeds. In fact, there is an error in the school when the children make a question and the astronaut respond with another answer than the original question of the child. So you can see how there is all pre-programming things. They are not real life. And when you see this is from a university. This is it's just a simple university project. You can have depth in virtual objects. Process with a webcam. This is just webcam in that room, creating depth, translating that depth in numbers, and make all this kind of interaction. And that is why you can explain this kind of behavior from the astronaut, that he's supposedly touching something, but there is nothing there. In fact, this guy all the time looks, at the monitor in front, like these guys do. They all the time see a screen that they never show us, because there is what the magic thing happened in that block, black box, the television. So this is how deep they go. And this is the last one. Sorry for the time delay. Give me 2 minutes more. For example, this guy is from Italy, and they, all the time playing with these toys. I don't know what, the professional thing with that. But first, he gonna, like fly up, and now it's going to fall down. I mean, it's, and he turned, I believe that this guy inside say, oh no, my shit. And he can, get a smile in front of camera, because he gonna be, but look how, what? It's falling down, Mom. You must be aware that the flight lose objects that pulling up, for example, what? So what happened there, man? I mean, it's, Argos system. Also the robots falling down, and you can see here all the pieces that start moving, So what happened there? Team Pig. Give applause to Team Pig, man. Yeah. Thank you, team. Yeah. You have this one that, oh. This is a short one. You must be, really put your eye, but cut. So you can see that, and that is why this was on 70s, and it's like the crop cycle thing. As the time goes by, they get better. All the time they use miniature, because in visual effects, if you want to achieve reality, in fact, in these decades, it's better to use miniature and photograph or film miniatures, because trying to replicate the light conditions in real life with CGI, even today, is really hard. We have a lot of render engines, but it's require a lot of time, and you're never going to replicate real life. The light, the behavior of the light in real life is impossible. Even in the Star Wars, still using miniatures to film and then combine with visual effects, CGI, and that kind of things. So you can see here how this they are getting better and better, all the time. So, I mean, what happened? The space changed so quickly. And of course, there is here a situation, because this is an official site from RT News, and the people start typing anytime they see this: National Association of Space Animation, NASA make the best sci-fi movies. I mean, these things just 3 years ago never happened. Nobody questioned gravity 3 years ago. Nobody questioned Copernicus or Galileo or Einstein, or even the astronaut, or even the images So that is what is happened today, and that is why we are here in this convention, because this is gains steam really, really quickly, and they are really aware of that. So if you want to make a break, I can finish the presentation in the next 30 minutes after the lunch, or you decide, man.
If you start to thinking at what altitude you can find the same result, at 20 kilometers, the curve of the Earth is totally perceptible, and no doubt. So when you start to see balloons and rocket launches, it's flat.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.